Which team, Max, is the biggest playoff threat, the Bills or the Steelers?
Well, the Bills are more likely to get in, but if they get in, I'm guessing that means the Steelers would have to beat the Ravens on the last week of the season. I think they can ride that momentum. And I honestly can't tell you if this is more my rooting interest than my brain, because the Bills at times have looked like elite or near elite, and Josh Allen's come along. But the job that Mike Tomlin has done with this Steelers team, especially since the Fitzpatrick trade, Minka Fitzpatrick on the defense now. And by the way, of all the quarterbacks you've seen from the Steelers this year, Devlin Hodges, has, I think, been the best one.
Can we stop the presses for a second? Is Spock Kellerman saying that emotions are dictating what he's picking here?
I'm being quite illogical, Captain. But I do think there's something to that. I think if Duck Hodges, even if they lose to the Bills, if they somehow get into these playoffs, and especially if they beat the Ravens the last week of the season, I remember my Giants going on a run after losing narrowly to the Patriots last week of the season. They got in as a wild card and won the Super Bowl. And there are things about this Steelers team that remind me of it. You know, as I said, I think Hodges is good. He's a backup. I understand he's a third stringer, but you can see where he's a backup because he's not throwing the ball a whole lot, but he's pretty accurate when he does. He can take shots down the field. The defense is great, as I mentioned. We haven't even seen a really healthy Juju Smith-Schuster get going. I feel like if the Steelers get in, they will have the momentum to make a little run, and especially like the story of Tomlin's coaching, this team will play together.
To me personally, I'm going to go with the Bills. And the reason why I go with the Bills is because they've got the number 2 ranked defense. They obviously defend against the pass well. They've improved against the run. They've won 3 of their last 4. And I'm caught up with what I've seen from Josh Allen, particularly on Thanksgiving Day against those Dallas Cowboys. I mean, his ability to run with the football and make things happen. He's no Lamar Jackson, but he can make plays with his legs, and he can move the chain. And this kid, Devin Singletary, with him back in the fold, running out of the backfield along with Frank Gore, their running attack is a top 5 running attack in football. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about a running game and an elite defense. That usually can pose a threat. When I think about the Steelers, I have to see more from Duck Hodges. I have to see more about him and what he's doing. I like him. I certainly like him better than Mason Rudolph. But offensively, I think it's safe to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been challenged. Juju Smith-Schuster eventually will be back. James Conner is expected to be back. But these are workhorses in terms of guys who are absolutely spectacular. The Steelers are clearly riding their defense. We didn't see that from Buffalo on Thanksgiving night. And, oh, by the way, although it was a loss, the one loss they've had in their last 4 games, it was against the Ravens, who they gave a run for their money to. They lost 24-17. That's a decent game. And so I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I'm saying based on what we're seeing from the Buffalo Bills right now, along with the exceptional coaching, the exceptional coaching of Sean McDonough, I'm just looking at them right now, and I'm saying, excuse me, I got to give respect where respect is due and recognize the fact that the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's my coach of the year, the defense is all world, the way that they've been balling. But offensively, I think they're more challenged, believe it or not, even than the Buffalo Bills at this point. With Beasley playing the way that he's playing, John Brown, and their running game, I got to give them some kind of slight edge over the Steelers at this juncture.
You know, when you look at both teams, they kind of mirror each other a lot because they're very dependent on their defense. Both of the defenses are elite in the National Football League. I think when we're trying to make this decision, you got to go off a checklist. Okay, defense, both teams have that. Coaches, both teams have spectacular coaches. I think the difference, and I think Stephen A. just pointed it out, is at the quarterback position. Buffalo doesn't have a lot of weapons on offense, but Josh Allen is the type of guy, he really complements what they do on offense very well. They want to run the football. They don't want to turn it over. They want to complement their defense. And what Josh Allen brings to the table, he can make plays with his arm, but those improv plays that he's able to make with his legs, they are killers. We've seen it time and time again with Josh Allen. We saw it on Thanksgiving Day against the Dallas Cowboys where he made plays with his legs. So I think you're almost this picking between these two teams. It's really close, but I'm gonna go with the slight edge to the Buffalo Bills simply because of the quarterback position.
I get that, and I've said this is an oversimplification, but I look at baseball. I think that's a game of general managers. I look at basketball, I think that's a game of players. And I look at football, and I think that's a game of coaches. So I agree with you, they have more talent at the quarterback position, clearly, in Buffalo. But I look at Mike Tomlin. Tomlin, let's just think a couple of years ago. The Pittsburgh Steelers were an elite team. How did they do it? With athletes on offense that you couldn't match up with all over the field, and a big-armed quarterback who's going to go to the Hall of Fame one day. Couldn't play defense, especially not in the secondary. Fast forward a couple years. The Steelers never been under 500, right? And here we are, they're 8-5, and how are they doing with it? Are there athletes all over the field that you can't match up with on offense? No, they're doing it with defense. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a special coach. You know what he doesn't have? Excuses. And he doesn't need any. He doesn't make any. He doesn't need any because his team is minimum. The worst they ever are is solid, but usually good. Usually one of the better teams in the league. And here we are again. And so in a matchup, in a sport where it's really about the coaches, if you're saying there's a coaching edge, not that the Bills don't have a coach, but if the coaching edge goes to one team and the quarterback edge to another in terms of talent, I'm going to take the coach in this time. I believe in Tomlin that much.
Well, listen, I know you should, and you should believe in Tomlin, but Sean McDermott has been getting a lot of praise for a reason. When they talk about the Buffalo Bills, they talk about a team, you have coaches telling you and aficionados telling you how exceptionally well coached they are, how they're disciplined, and how they have an identity and know who they are and who they are
Even
not.
subtle in-season adjustments.
Who they are not. If there is one slight critique we could historically say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, as exceptional of a coach as Mike Tomlin is, we have to remember the fact that sometimes guys can get beside themselves because he allows their personalities to shine, to really spread their wings.
They're not on the team anymore.
I understand that, but I'm just saying he allows that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.